Hello, welcome everyone. So I welcome all of you as you are from my live online sessions. So let us see what are the brush wetness levels. There are 6 wetness levels for the brush. The first one is a dry brush, just like this. The brush is completely dry. The next one is moist brush. Third one is thirsty brush. And fourth is a wet brush. And fifth is a half loaded brush. And the sixth one is a fully loaded brush. So let us come from, or as you already know what a dry brush is, let us come from below upwards. That is, first I will demonstrate how a fully loaded brush will look like. That is, it is a dripping brush. So we have this water container and it will drip if it is held downward, and if it is put like this in a horizontal way, it won't drip. So this is a fully loaded brush. I have demonstrated this with water. Now I will demonstrate that with the paint. So let's see how a fully loaded brush will look like. So this is a fully loaded brush, which when placed horizontal, water is not dripping, and when placed like this must be very thorough before we go to the further techniques. So this is a fully loaded brush. It drips water. Now, the next one is a half loaded brush or a saturated brush. Dip the tuft in paint, hold the brush at a downward angle until the dripping stops. So here I am dipping the brush and I'm holding it until the dripping just stops. Okay, can you see this? The dripping has just stopped. You can just observe how this brush looks like now. Can you see it? This is fully saturated with paint, yet when I put it like this also I'm holding it vertical, but still there is no dripping of paint. If put on paper, this will release uncontrolled large bead of liquid when touched to paper. We don't have any control over the paint on this brush. So this is about fully loaded brush and half loaded brush. Now you have seen both. Now I will show you what a wet brush is. So after the fully loaded brush and half loaded brush, we have this wet brush. The brush is gently touched against the edge of the container. There is just sufficient water or paint to produce the brush stroke with an even flow without streaks or pinhole. So this is a wet brush or wick brush. So we have learned now there is 3 brush types we have learned, and I will show you how with each one will look like. Okay. This is a saturated brush, and when I hold it like this, it will just fall. We don't have any control. So this is with saturated brush. Then half loaded brush is like nothing falls off when it is put downwards. This is also very uncontrolled. If you want to fill this shape, there is lot of water in the field. See, there is some pooling of water here. There is pooling of water here. So these are the 2 brush strokes we got from fully loaded brush and a half loaded brush. Now we will see how it shows with a wet brush. That is, we have just removed the extra water uh, by stroking at the edge of the container. So this is a wet brush. It is not dripping. This is a more controlled. So there is not a pool of water is not there. This is a controlled stroke. Okay, this one is a controlled stroke. Now, the fourth one is a thirsty brush. If this brush is blotted on a paper, let's see the wet brush with I have just removed the extra water by blotting, gently tapping the brush on a dry paper towel. I am gently tapping the brush with a paper towel. So now this brush is a thirsty brush. We can actually remove the extra paint with this brush. See, now this is a thirsty brush. See, I am removing the paint with a thirsty brush. So also when a wet brush is exhausted, let me show you. So this is again a wet brush. This is a fully loaded brush. We have removed that it becomes half loaded, and this is a wet brush. Okay, this is a wet brush. Now, if I am giving a stroke like this, so it is a bit too light, so I will just take some more saturated paint and I will just make the brush wet like this. So I'm starting from here. This type of streak was created when the brush was just wet, and when the brush was having less water, less moisture in it, it created this type of pinholes. And that in this point, it has turned into a thirsty brush. So thirsty brush can be created in two ways. That is, one is by blotting with tissue paper, and the next one is when we just apply the paint and the water in the belly of the brush is no more there. Then also there is this streaks appear. It is when the streaks appear, we understand that that has become a thirsty brush. So for a clean stroke, we have to use uh, this wet brush. Otherwise, it will be looking like this. There are so many streaks. You can see so many streaks over. Now, the next one is a moist brush. The brush is prevented, then the brush is pre-wetted. Here, the brush is actually pre-wetted. So I have pre-wetted the brush, and by repeatedly blotting on a dry paper or by covering the brush with a dry paper towel and firmly squeezing with the thumb and forefinger, now you get a moist brush. This is not a dry brush. Okay. See, this is a moist brush. So this is a damp brush and traces of paint or water when rubbed with. So if there is paint, let us see how a damp brush looks when there is paint in it. So I'm applying paint. Now we are just taking some paint and I'm going to make this brush moist. So that is, I'm squeezing the colors with a dry paper towel. Now this is a moist brush and let us see how it looks, how the results looks. So we get this type of result with a moist brush. You can always come back. So you can always come back to these lessons and try to understand the various wetness levels of brush. So we have learned what a dry brush is, what a moist brush is, what a wet brush is, what half loaded brush and a fully loaded brush is. And try to identify the level of moisture just by looking at the tuft of the brush. That is homework. The tuft looks different when it holds different levels of moisture. And this helps you paint more effectively. So as a homework, I would like to ask you a question. So let me remove this excess water. So the question is, what brush is this? What is the level of wetness of this brush? Answer in the comments. Thank you.